Welcome and or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell and today I have part 2 of my giant birthday book haul. So this book haul is really it's been in the making for 4 months or so. I have not done a book haul, and so there was like a really big backlog of books that I had bought and received, not to mention it was then my birthday month, and so I went a little bit crazy. I also bought a lot of things on eBay in terms of like used historical romance lots and things like that. So it's kind of a giant haul, hence I am splitting it up into 3 parts. So today I have a lot of fantasy and then some historical romance, some fantasy romance, some I don't know, like I would say like cozy mysteries. So a big variety of books I'm going to be talking about today. So stick around if you're interested in fantasy romance, historical romance, or mysteries. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you do so. Don't forget to click the like button and let me know which one of these books you think I should prioritize. Have you read any of these books? And if so, what did you think? And this is going to be a long one. I'm hoping to get through at least 38 of these books today. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Grab yourself a coffee, tea, whatever. This might be a long one. I'm going to try to split up this video into parts. I'm going to start with books that were gifted to me and books that I received. And then I'm going to go into some fantasy and mysteries. And then at the end, the last segment I'm going to have is some historical romances that I got for myself. So starting out with books that were either gifted to me or sent to me by authors. The first one I have here is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Alex Stern series. The first book was Ninth House. This was really kindly gifted to me by Jess from Honest Fiction. I'll have her channel linked down below. I think I gave Ninth House 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to this one. I can't really say much about it, obviously, because spoilers. Next, I have Fourth Wing. Now, I did say I wasn't going to buy this, and I didn't. It was gifted to me. This is not the one with the sprayed edges, but I think I've been kind of vocal about not really liking those sprayed edges. I just find them like, I don't know, I find them kind of boring. Like if you're going to do dragons, not like a basic stencil that's mostly just black edges. I don't know. And for a cover that's so plain, I thought that, okay, then do it up with the stencil. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I know that most people disagree with me, but I did adore this book. I gave it 5 stars. It was one of my favorite books so far this year, and I really did want a copy because I know I'm going to be continuing on in the series, but I needed myself a copy. So this was gifted to me by a family member, and I'm really happy to have it. If you've not heard of Fourth Wing, then you're living under a rock. Fantasy romance with dragons. It's got a fantasy school element, and it's an enemies to lovers romance. I think there's going to be 5 books in the series, but I could be wrong. Next is another fantasy romance. This is Bow Before the Elf Queen by Jan Carroll. And this one, I believe I gave 4 stars. I do want to continue on with the series, but the audiobooks are very I just don't like them. I hate the audiobooks for these books. So I am currently having issues like reading a lot physically, and it's an issue. So I do want to continue on. I think I might actually reread this book before I do so. I talk about that in my recent video where I talk about like all the fantasy romance series I want to continue and start. I'll have that video linked up below if you're interested. But I talk about basically my thoughts on continuing with the series. I do want to continue, so I definitely wanted to have a hard physical copy of the first book in the series. Okay, next I have a romance that is not a fantasy romance. I do like to read dark romance now and then. It's just a good time, especially like mafia romance and just like the good kinky stuff, you know. And this one was gifted to me by a family member, and I don't think that family member probably would have bought this book had they known what this book is about. But this is a dark romance. Make sure to check your trigger warning going into this book because it's extremely dark, but I really enjoyed it. It's about a secret society. There is a lot of like dubious consent in here, so just be warned. It's about a secret society at this prestigious university. It's a really good dark romance, and I loved it. Next, I have a historical romance that was gifted to me by Maria from Maria Might Read That. She's a really good friend of mine, and I thank her so much for this. I actually love this cover so much. It's one of my favorite Lorraine Heath covers. It's When the Duke Was Wicked, and I believe that she read this book and really enjoyed it. She's starting to get into historical romance too, which is super fun because she's not usually like a huge romance lover, and I think it's so fun that she's getting into some romance and kind of like found what she likes a little bit, and she's still like exploring that, which is really cool. And she said that she really liked Lorraine Heath. I have a bunch of Lorraine Heath books. I hadn't owned this one yet, so I'm really excited to have it. But I haven't tried any Lorraine Heath yet, and I'm really excited. I've heard she's amazing, so I've just been collecting her books, and I feel like I should probably read her soon and find out, because I just keep buying her books and I've never read her before, so I guess I don't know for sure. I hope I like her. Finally, I have an epic fantasy book that was sent to me by the author. This is Nine of Swords by Brooklyn Quintana. This is an epic fantasy, and I believe it is like a chosen one trope, and there is a magic school involved. So the back says, "Welcome to the Morancy Academy of Military Arts. As one of our students, we expect that you will fight till the end and win by any means necessary. Now that you're here, there are a few things that you should be made aware of. Firstly, be mindful of the water's edge. The mermaids are not always to be trusted, and the dolphins are quite unreliable. Second, try not to get lost in the catacombs. Should you wander too far, your safety cannot be guaranteed. And remember, be wary of the jungle. The trees like to rearrange themselves, and do steer clear of the vines lest you not return from your adventure intact or even alive. We hope to see you at the end of the year games should you make it that far." So a super crazy like Hogwarts like school, but in the jungle. So I'm very, very intrigued. Also, this book has mermaids in it, and I love anything with mermaids. And that really does remind me a lot of Hogwarts. Like everything it's explaining, it's almost like the staircase is like the jungle. Like the trees rearranging themselves and the mermaids at the water's edge. And I don't know, I have a good feeling about this, and I thought it was really sweet of her to send it to me. I told her I wasn't sure if I'd even have time to read it, but she sent it to me anyway, which was very sweet of her. So I do hope I can get to it soon. Let's talk about some of the books that I purchased for myself over the last 4 or 5 months. I don't think any of these were really birthday related. A lot of these I actually got at least a few months ago. The first one was Daisies for Innocence by Bailey Cottrell. And this one is a cozy mystery, but with like fantasy elements, like witchy elements. I think it's set at this perfume shop that has this enchanted garden. There might be a little bit of like supernatural elements. Sounds really, really cute. I bought it to read in the springtime, but obviously I didn't get to it. So I don't know, eventually. The next time I'm feeling like a super springy, gardeny, enchanting, cozy mystery, I'll pick this one up. But it does sound really cute. Now, this one's like a cozy political fantasy. I've heard this being put on cozy fantasy lists, but also like epic fantasy lists, so I don't know. But this is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison, and I have, no matter what, heard really good things about this. I've been warned that it is a little bit complicated. There's like a lot of like character lists and things like that because it is fairly complicated and political, but I love those kind of books usually, so I have high hopes. I think this is about like a half goblin who wasn't supposed to be emperor, but somehow like ended up being emperor unexpectedly, and he hadn't been like trained to be emperor or anything. So basically he's trying to figure out how to navigate the waters of the political maneuverings and just basically try to figure it all out. And so I'm very interested. Next I have a fantasy romance. This is an older fantasy romance by C.L. Wilson, Lord of the Fading Lands. This is kind of like an OG fantasy romance book. It was written, I believe, in the 2007. Really? 2007? This looks like so much older than that. How old am I? Okay, yeah, because this is almost 20 years old. Cool. Like, that was like yesterday. Yeah, Lord of the Fading Lands. I don't know much about it other than this is like one of the original fantasy romance books. And is that a dragon or a cat on the back? I think it's a dragon or a cat. Cat dragon? I'm sorry, on the back, what do you guys think? Is this a cat dragon? I guess I'll find out when I read it. I have a couple more cozy mysteries here. The first one is A Tale of Hilltop Farm, and I think that this is basically inspired by Beatrix Potter's life. So the series is called The Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter, and it's basically about Beatrix Potter, who is the author of Peter Rabbit. She is solving murder mysteries with enchanted animals. She has an entourage of animal friends, and she sets out to win over the human hearts of Sori. It sounds like it's going to be like the ultimate cottagecore. It sounds really cute. So I'm looking forward to being in like the right mood to pick something like this up, because I know I'll get there, and I think this will be perfect for that. I also have one that's going to be perfect for spooky season. I'm really hoping I like this series because I feel like it could be awesome. It's called In the Company of Witches by Orly Wallace. Look at that cover. Isn't it adorable? Super spooky and cute. I love that cat. I'm loving the toads and the garden and like the old Victorian house. It reminds me of like the house from Charmed. And yeah, this is like a cozy, witchy, cozy mystery. And it's about the Warren witches, and the main character is living with her aunt, I believe. I don't know. She has to help her aunt out, and I think they run this B&B. And so I think she has to like clear her aunt's name because I think they think that her aunt might be a suspect for this like murder case. I don't know. But it looks really good. It looks really cute, and I hope I love it. I feel like by the end of every book haul I do, my voice is so sore. The next I have is Veiled Throne by Ken Liu. This is the third book in the Dandelion Dynasty. I'm looking to pick this up soon. It's an epic fantasy series. It's very political. It really reads like a historical, like a history textbook, but with really, really good character development. It's very politics focused, and if you think like Game of Thrones in terms of like the alliances and the sabotage and all of the political maneuverings in that, but this is Asian and American inspired. Obviously there's those differences, and the writing style is very different too, but in terms of the political maneuverings, it does have a little bit of the Game of Thrones vibes there, but I feel like it's written in a much, I don't mean dry in a bad way. That's going to sound wrong. I don't mean dry in a bad way. Like dry in a good way. I don't know. I love it. I'm loving the series. Okay. I think I gave the first book 4 stars and the second book 5 stars. So I'm hoping this will be another 5-star. Okay. The next book I'm hauling is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. This one is a fantasy series. I believe it's adult, and it's about a djinn. And I believe it's like a djinn bodyguard, and this girl kind of go on this quest with the prince. They're trying to find this magical lamp. So I believe it's inspired by 1001 Nights, but I could be wrong. And it says, in a world where story is reality and illusion is truth, Luli, that's the main character, will discover that everything, her enemy, her magic, even her own past, is not what it seems. So I'm very interested to see, is the romance between her and the prince or her and the djinn, because there is supposed to be a romance involved in this. Though I do believe that this is going to be a trilogy or a duology. So I was going to read it for Once Upon a Readathon, but that's past now anyway. So now I think I'm just going to hold on to it and possibly wait until the next book comes out at least, because I'm trying to do better about getting through series, so I need to start like binging them more basically. So the cover is beautiful though. I really prefer the paperback edition of this. I think it is just beautiful, and it's like sparkly too. Pretty. Next book I picked up was Son of Shadows. I think this is actually one of the more recent books I picked up from online. It's the second book in Juliet Marlier's series. What is the series called? The Seven Waters, I believe. It's 2 trilogies. That's 3, but 3 for 2 trilogies. You know what I'm saying? 2 trilogies. And the first book in the first trilogy is Daughter of the Forest, and that was one of my favorite books last year. And so this is the second book. Most people prefer the first, but I have heard a couple of people say the second one's even better. So we'll see where I fall in that. I'm trying to get them like in this size because it's getting harder and harder to find the older ones, and I like this size in a fantasy anyway. This, what do you call this? Trade paperback? But I like this size for a fantasy anyway. Try to get them all in this size. I believe that I read Daughter of the Forest in like a mass market size. Next is a birthday gift that I got myself. I thought I got myself every single book that's out so far in this series, but come to find out, the books that weren't this one, which is Mistletoe, I had ordered, and they had advertised basically being the original indie published copies of these books. And I found out later, still they hadn't sent them, that they were actually going to be sending me the books once they were released, which doesn't even make sense. Then why are you taking my money now? They're like not even released yet. I got a refund. I was like, you advertise selling the original covers. What are you even doing? It was on eBay and it was very sketchy. It was very sketchy. So I don't know, just be careful if you're trying to get the original covers for these. They're like not anywhere, so just be wary. I would like message a seller before paying them to find out if it is the original cover, because other than this one, which is still available, I think it's still indie. Other than this one, the rest are really hard to come by. Apparently people are selling them when they're actually selling, like, I don't even know what they're selling. Nothing apparently, but anyway. I got this one. That's like my random rant, but I was kind of really upset about that because I really wanted the original covers. I really wanted the original covers. The covers coming out, like they just released the new cover for the first book in the series, and I like it. I like that we're like putting people on the cover, and I really do appreciate that. But I don't like all the foliage on the cover. I'll pop up a picture right here. I don't like all the foliage because I feel like it's like covering them up, and I don't think that's necessary. I like that they had real people, and I like that they actually put a plus size heroine on the cover. Sometimes you read a plus size heroine, but the person on the cover is like a size 2, and that's kind of crazy to me. But so I like what they did with that, but then I felt like they kind of cover it up with leaves. I don't like that. I also am still not a big fan of the font. So there's that. Anyway, so it's okay. At least I got this one and I'm happy with this. And this is actually like my favorite cover in the whole series anyway. So I'm happy to have this. I love the pink tree with the snow. I just think it's gorgeous. I want to display this around Christmas time on my shelf, I think. If you haven't already read this series by Kimberly Lemming, definitely check it out. It's a fantasy romance series set basically in this fantasy world inspired by the Southern Bayou. It's just really funny, really magical, really cozy, very spicy too. And it's just a really fun time. Okay, so next I have, in the last 4 months, hauled all of the first 5 Zodiac Academies, not any of the novellas, just the actual like book 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is just the 5th book, but the rest are up here. I still have to get the rest, but I've only read through book 5, so that's all I have anyway. I generally tend to read them on my Kindle or my phone anyway, but this is the fantasy romance series about these Gemini twins, and they find out that they are Fae and are taken to this school. It's basically Hogwarts with Fae and elemental powers. There's all these different kinds of Fae. There's shifters, there's vampires. They all have all these different abilities, and it's a bully romance. So just know that before going into it. But I really enjoyed it so far. I am a little bit stressed out by it, and I'm kind of like with Fortuna Sworn. I'm scared to continue because I don't want to cry anymore. So that's how I feel about that. Okay, so next I have The Fairy Bargainer, or The Fairy Bargains of Prospect Hill. I think I got this because I was getting the Stardust Thief, and that one was buy one, get one 50% off at Barnes & Noble. So that's why I got this one. And it looks like a fantasy, Regency, historical romance. So historical romance with Fae. And I'm really into the idea of reading those. I hope I really like it because I'm into cozy historical fantasy. I really liked Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and I'm hoping this gives similar-ish vibes. I think this is gonna be more whimsical though. I think it's gonna be maybe more similar to like Half a Soul, which I haven't read, so I guess I can't even compare it. But it looks really good, and yeah. I don't know anything about it other than fairy historical romance. Finally, for the non-historical fantasy, I have The Ember Blade by Chris Whitting. And I don't know anything about this other than it's very like sword and sorcery, epic fantasy. It says Lord of the Rings for the modern generation. Interesting. And so I'm very intrigued. I've heard mostly wonderful things about this series. I've heard a couple of really bad things. So most people really love it though. I don't know anything about it. I think this is going to be like a medieval classic epic fantasy feel, but I like those kind. Like I really like those kind of epic fantasies. So I think it might be for me. Okay, so we've gotten through a lot of books already. Let's go through some historical romances that I picked up for either their covers, their content, or their stepbacks. So let's go through these. The first one is Paradise Wild by Joanna Lindsey. I got this actually because it came with a different book that I really wanted. And I didn't own this one. And it's one of her more like early on historical romances. And I think it's set in Hawaii, which I'm very interested in because I used to live there. And I think this one might be a bit problematic though. I don't know if it has like a non-con scene or something like that, but I think I heard this one's a bit problematic. It says their love is violent and reckless, so yeah, it might be a bit problematic. The cover's gorgeous and I love the pink writing and I love this set in Hawaii, so I still might give it a try though. But I'm trying to complete my Joanna Lindsey collection, and I think I'm like 2/3 of the way there now. Another Joanna Lindsey, and this is the reason I got that other one, and it's A Gentle Feuding. This one is a wraparound, and it's a Highlander. I believe it's a Highlander romance, and I think this is a standalone. And the copy I have here is in amazing condition, and they wrapped it really nicely too to make sure it stayed safe and wasn't going to get damaged. There's maybe 2 cracks on the spine, and the cover is like, it's in amazing condition. I love this. This is actually probably my most favorite Joanna Lindsey cover. It's just gorgeous. I kind of want it in hardback too, so I can like display it. Okay, we need to talk about basically my big splurging gift for myself, and I spent, I think it with shipping was $38 for this book, but that's because this is a very like rare find, and I found this book. It was being sold for like $32 like before tax and shipping, in amazing condition. And usually I've seen it, if it's in this condition, it's usually at least being sold for like $80. And I got it because of this step back. Yeah. Like, are you serious? If you love fall, this is basically the perfect step back. Yeah. Like the dress, her face, the apples, the whole big bushel of apples at the bottom. It's just amazing. It's like, I had to have it. I just had to. And honestly, I have zero regrets about that. That's probably like one of my favorite books in my collection. Okay, I bought this book wanting the step back version and not getting the step back version. It's still like a pretty cover, I guess, but yeah, so I might still read it. I think it's set in New Orleans, and it's a historical romance, and that's all I know. I've never heard of Alexandra Ripley, but yeah, I was trying to get the step back, and sometimes you just end up with not the step back. That just happens when you're buying used books sometimes. This one I bought for the cover. It's Rapture's Splendor by Ashley Snow. It's a Heartfire Zebra. I love some of those Heartfire Zebra covers, but this one is just absolutely stunning. Like the waves are purple and all of the pink. I just, and her face, she kind of looks a little bit like Debbie Perry, who also kind of, like my mom kind of looked like Debbie Perry when she was younger. So she reminds me a lot of Debbie Perry. So she kind of reminds me of my mom, which yes, my mom could have been a supermodel. She's gorgeous. I love this one. Another cover by that I was dying for, and it has the most beautiful color palette. Like this color combination of this book is everything. And it's got the like the embossed letters, because I do believe it's a first edition. Yeah. So basically gorgeous. Just really pretty fall colors, I think. Speaking of fall colors, the sky in this one is gorgeous for Sky O'Malley. This is the name of this book. And this one I got because it's going to be the Historical Hellions book pick for August. And I'm trying to participate in their book club now that I'm reading more historical romance. So I just thought, might as well pick this one up because I thought the cover was really pretty. I don't know anything about it. It looks like it's set during the time of Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, got a pretty good quality used copy of it. Okay, so I think for some of these, I'm going to try to get through these faster because I feel like I already have like 35 minutes of raw footage. I'm looking at 2 bags, a box, and a pile of books I still have to go through. So, and I really don't want to make this a 4-part video. Get ready for like a much faster speed. This is In Bed with the Devil by Lorraine Heath. I got this because this is the first series, and I believe the series before one of the other series that I wanted to read, but they said it's like, someone said it was like good to read this series first. I don't know. It's the first book in one of Lorraine Heath's series. I got The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. I've already read this book and adored it. It is a Highlander romance. I highly recommend it. Definitely a darker read though, so check your trigger warnings. I need to get these stickers off because they're really pissing me off. But Lorraine Heath, Between the Devil and Desire. This is the second book in that series of the book I just showed you. The Lorraine Heath book I just showed you. Okay, I got more Joanna Lindsey. Surprise, surprise. This is Tender Rebel. This is the second book in the Mallory Anderson series, or the Mallory series. Gorgeous clinch cover. And here I have basically probably like definitely my top 5 favorite Joanna Lindsey covers. This is When Love Awaits, and it's wraparound, and it's medieval. I love a medieval romance. I love medieval romance, and that hair is crazy in the best way, absolute best way. And I have Until Forever by Joanna Lindsey, and the fall vibes, like leaves, and then, oh my goodness, gorgeous, right? I believe that this is a standalone, and I think it's medieval, and I think it's a time travel. Sorry for my kid in the background. I need to read this fall. Okay, I have Beneath a Midnight Moon by Madeline Baker. And I got it because of this step back, which is gorgeous. I mean, honestly, it's all gorgeous. Like, the cover itself is wraparound and gorgeous. And then I love this design here where it opens, and then the step back too. Like, everything is gorgeous on this. It's just a gorgeous book. Stephanie Lauren's On a Wild Night. This has a beautiful back cover here, but the step back is what really makes it. I think this is like book 8 in this series, but yeah, it's a double page step back, and it's gorgeous. I especially love like the garden, like you can see the big hostas here, and just that whole look with her hair is like amazing. And like they've got the carriage with the horses. It's just really pretty. It's gorgeous. I adore it. Okay, guys, that is all I have time for today, unfortunately, which means I'm going to have a lot of books to fit into my next video, but that's just where we are. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, technically, it's kind of my own fault. So anyway, definitely in the next video, I'm going to have all of the books that were in my previous Come Shopping With Me video. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll have that linked down below in the description. I'll be going through all of those in the next video. I thought that was this video, but I did it backwards. I did it the other way. Anyway, so if you want to check that out, down below in the description, you can find it along with all of my social media, including my Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to click the like button. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you think there's any I should prioritize. And until next time, my fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.
You're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.